Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fifth session of WAM Talks. This is our monthly live podcast where we speak to a member of our amazing WAM community about a subject in fitness and nutrition that they are passionate about. If you don't know me yet, I'm Anna. I'm the founder of WAM We Are More. It's a vegan sports nutrition brand that is trying to do things a little bit better and improve the fitness industry and make the fitness space more inclusive. And I am also a PhD chemist and a certified sports nutritionist. And my guest today is Ainoa, as you can see. And we're going to talk about all things pregnancy, postpartum, from training adaptations to nutrition considerations, mindset, and life in general. If you are joining us live, then please feel free to ask questions throughout the session. We're going to try to integrate them as we go, or answer them towards the end of the session. And after the full thing will be available on YouTube and on Spotify as usual. I know Ainoa, and I've been following her on social media for a while after, I think, sliding in her DMs to ask her if she wants to try some WAM protein. And I followed pretty much all of the pregnancy and now postpartum journey. I know she's a certified personal trainer. I know she coached a lot of women towards more fitness and towards more confidence. And now she is a new mom, and maybe she wants to add something herself. How are you doing?
Yeah,
How's life?
yeah, doing good. I mean, not a lot of sleep, but
I can
surviving.
imagine.
But yeah, I've been coaching for a while. A lot of moms and probably a few people here have seen me at PT1 and other places. But yeah, going through the pregnancy, postpartum journey myself has been a ride for sure. And yeah, I feel a lot for the woman I coached before and the woman that I'm coaching now. Like they are superheroes, to be fair. It's definitely not easy, but yeah, I'm happy to be able to help them, and that's definitely my passion. Apart from having my full-time job in a startup, whatever, like the boring stuff, but this is like where my heart is fully, and yeah, I'm very happy to be able to help people to stay active and to reshape a little bit the narrative around like pregnancy and fitness because there's a lot of myths and stuff, and yeah, it's
And there's a lot of information to filter through and digest. But now you have the first-hand experience. And actually, before even talking about pregnancy, I wanted to take one step back and talk about the whole pre-pregnancy, preconception, like the planning phase, the trying phase. And I feel like nowadays there's so much noise, but there's also so much chat about exercise and stress. And while some say it's a stress relief, there is now voices getting louder that say, oh, if you do this particular exercise, that actually spikes your cortisol, which is associated with stress. And there's like, I feel more and more ways to do things wrong. I don't know how you feel about that.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's such a sensitive moment of our lives, and so many people want to make money out of that, right? Like planning to have a kid and trying to get pregnant. It's such an emotional roller coaster, and you feel that there's not enough talked about, right? Because you tell people that you are, yeah, trying to get pregnant, and if you don't make it in a certain amount of time, it feels like failure, so you don't want to share, and then you see all of these like people trying to like help, like or like give you advice and trying to make money out of this like moment of like loneliness and put in like one of like the most important things that you can do in life, which is like create life, right? Like it's insane. So I feel quite scared that like there are so many claims around like this will help you get pregnant, this like doesn't help. I mean, for sure, stress is like the biggest enemy of everything, of like our health in general, let alone like getting pregnant. But actually, there's like a lot of research around like how much working out helps stress management, and it's one of the best tools to control those cortisol spikes that come during the day because you train your body to manage those cortisol spikes while you train. So then when you have them during the day, you're much more relaxed. And we actually got pregnant by the beach in Kenya where we were completely chilled. And definitely like it was a big thing, right? Like not having anything to worry about, just like chilling by the beach. And that's how it works, right? It's definitely like a big worry of everybody, like, oh, I'm going to train and I'm gonna get stressed. But I was still training while I was in Kenya. Like I never stopped training anywhere I go. So definitely was not the training. It was just like the overall stress of being in a busy city. And we just went by the beach, still worked out, and everything worked out at the end too.
Nice.
So yeah, I would like to encourage everybody to do a little bit more of research around this before taking decisions because it's actually very damaging. And when you get pregnant, it's a whole marathon, and you need to be ready for that even before you get pregnant. So stopping sports while you're trying to conceive, it's very counterintuitive to the marathon that you're about to run for almost a year. Like, who will run a marathon without training? Please, nobody do it.
Yeah,
Like, if
bad
anyone does
idea.
it, bad idea. Same with the pregnancy. You need to also be ready, right? And I actually wanted to be at my fittest for this period of my life because I know that like the body changes quite a lot and it is hard to like be at your fittest and get pregnant and be like, oh shit, like now I'm losing everything I worked for. But for me, it was more like now I'm really ready to give away a little bit of my performance because I'm at the peak. So if I slide a little bit, I don't care that much. But mentally, it was like very important for me to be as fit as possible to know that I could like carry a baby and the belly and everything I had to carry. So yeah.
Nice. I think that's very good advice. And then about the actual pregnancy. So I don't have kids yet. I don't have younger siblings either. And yeah, I don't have older siblings with kids. So for me, all of this is kind of a very scary black box. And when I look online, again, as for preconception, there's just so many things and so many people trying to make money, sometimes with the only qualification being that they are a woman and they have been pregnant themselves. I think I remember you found out that you're pregnant pretty early on into the
hmm
pregnancy. Was there anything you changed right away or that you had to change right away because of how your body reacted to it? Or
hmm
how did you go?
Yeah, I think I found out like I think it was like 2, 3 weeks. Like after 2, 3 weeks of being pregnant, I already knew. And I kept training, I kept coaching. Like everybody who knows me, they're always like, you needed the pregnancy to slow down because your life was already too much for an average person. So I was like doing my full-time job, doing personal training and doing like classes for BT81 as well. So it was quite a lot. And when I found out that I was pregnant, the first trimester is quite scary because 30% of pregnancies end up in miscarriages, which is a very sad reality, and it's something that it's in the back of your head all the time. And that didn't stop me from training, to be fair, because I knew that it's actually recommended to train at least like 150 minutes per week is recommended throughout the entire pregnancy, and especially at the beginning the way I took it was like, I'm going to do all the exercises that I'm not going to be able to do when the belly grows now because I'm going to miss them. So, like, yeah, you name it, box jumps, like toes to bar, pull-ups, like I put all of it like in the first trimester because I knew that at some point it was going to be almost impossible. So that's how I took it. But it's true that I had to cut down a little bit all the business that I had because I was just very exhausted. Like it's true that like on Instagram I will always post when I go to the gym, when I'm coaching, but you don't see my naps, you don't see my cancellations of classes. I was canceling quite a lot of classes on the first
Okay.
trimester, to be fair, because the exhaustion is real. Like the body is adapting and trying to accommodate a new life. And the same way I will encourage everybody to work out, I will also encourage everybody to take as many days off as needed because it's true, like the body's going through an extreme transformation. Like there's no other, like there's no bigger transformation than this, right? On the body throughout the life, and you just need to listen to the body and rest as much as you can, and work out maybe twice a week, more than enough, like 45 minutes, and it's more than fine. But yeah, and feel what like do whatever feels right. Like a lot of people are very scared of the first trimester. But yeah, you just have to listen to your body, and if something doesn't feel good, like there's a thousand alternatives. You can always work out with a professional to give you all the library of exercises that we have in our heads, and I'm sure we will find something that can help you stay active and can make you feel good too. So yeah.
Did you have to deal with a lot of sickness? Because I've heard also from people that I know were pregnant that they were sick, but actually getting their body moving helped them a lot to get over it and to get a little bit of a hunger back as well.
Yeah, maybe I wasn't sick because I was already quite active, so I didn't get sickness, to be fair. No nausea, like the recommendations when you get sick, like from a medical perspective, are very similar to the recommendations to a normal, healthy diet, which most women actually don't follow because they're scared of overeating. So the typical like eat every 3 hours, like have a good breakfast, so all the fluids are settled, like this typical advice that I will give to any of my clients also applies to pregnancy. But if you weren't doing it before, starting all of this nutritional journey during pregnancy, it's harder because you don't know if the banana that you ate in the morning is causing nausea or it's the pregnancy because you're starting like all the habits at once. So I will always encourage, like, first of all, like, nobody please skip breakfast ever. Like, it helps a lot with the hormonal imbalances that are going through pregnancy, but just in general, right? Like, I think if you have a good routine of when, what to eat, you feel way more energy and you avoid all of this nausea. So, like, I mean, I don't want to say like that's why I didn't get sick. I didn't get sick, and I was doing that. Maybe it's related, maybe it's not, but it definitely helped me not having very strong symptoms. Just the tiredness, which I think it's almost unavoidable. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And then moving on to later stages of the pregnancy, how did you know when to modify things? Were you following a certain plan or layout, or were you just adapting based on how it felt in the moment?
Yeah. So there are a lot of programs that will tell you what to do based on the trimester. And what I realize is that the trimesters are also very different according to how the body evolves, like week 25, week 12, week 16, right? Like there are certain things that like can be expected, but in general, it's very personal. So I knew overall that like there were like certain things to consider. So when I was seeing that my core control was like quite hard, like when I was feeling some pressure on the pelvic floor, when I was feeling the relaxing kicking in and my joints getting looser. So I was following a little bit more like how I was feeling instead of like a very strict like week by week, trimester by trimester. So I did change a few things. Like, for instance, I didn't run very long anymore in the second trimester. I think my last run was like around mid second trimester, and then I didn't even run at all because, yeah, I just thought that like I had to focus on other things way more. And then, especially the core, and I modified things that I was very obsessed with, like PBs kind of like I wanted always to like lift heavier on the squat, lift heavier on the deadlift, and I switched a few exercises to make sure that I was working on internal hip rotation, that I was working on anti-rotation of the core, like more like stability and posture exercises, which are really not my bread and butter. I love like impact, I love power, I love big lifts. And then out of the sudden, I was like just doing pal-off presses, which they are very useful, and I will, yeah, but they are boring as it can be. I'm sorry, I need to say it too. And I give them to almost all of my clients that are pregnant or that run and stuff, but they are not the most exciting exercises, right? But you have to know that they are necessary, and you mix Palo press with a deadlift, like something that like still fun, maybe not that heavy to make the workout like more appealing because otherwise like it's true, it does get boring at some point. But yeah, you just need to look for the long run and yeah, it helps quite a lot.
It's almost a bit like recovering from an injury, and you have your set of exercises that the physio gave you, and they're all super boring and just with rubber bands, and you're standing on the side of the class doing your little exercise while everyone else just smashing the big weights and the
I
workout.
know,
You're just like, oh, I want to go back so bad, but if I don't do this now, I'll never go back.
exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah, it's definitely a big mindset shift that comes with that. Um, and how do you feel about this? Another thing I've read quite often is continue to do what you've been doing. So if you've been very active before getting pregnant, then keep being active. But if you haven't, then this is not the time to start something, which I think can be a little bit counterintuitive because you mentioned before that it's actually recommended for pregnant women to be active. Obviously, you shouldn't start Olympic weightlifting in the first trimester, but I guess there's nuance to it.
100%. And I mean, there is like a part of truth that since you don't know how certain things are supposed to be feeling, it's very hard to know if the feeling is correct while you're being pregnant and doing that exercise that you never did before. So on that part, I agree. But that's when like you work with a professional or you just like learn a lot about the exercises, about like the workouts that like are recommended. So you know what to watch out for, right? Like bulging, like diastasis recti, like pelvic floor pressure. Like there are certain things that like you have to know that if you feel any of that, like then it's not right. Um, but I've coached people that like never worked out before at the gym and they started with me because then they couldn't do HIIT training, which is like one of the most popular ones for women in general. And they were like, "Oh, I want to stay active, but definitely HIIT training doesn't feel very good right now. So I will start going to the gym." And they started and 100% like in and super happy that they were still able to do something because your body is going through so many changes. You're like changing identity even, right? Like you're becoming this new person who's a mom, and with all of those changes you see your body getting bigger, you see everything like all over the place, your skin, like everything is all over the place, and you cannot control any of that, but you can control your training, you can control the amount of time that you invest in becoming healthier mentally, hormonal, while working out, and having that piece of control helps a lot during pregnancy, even if you didn't work out before. So I would recommend like if you haven't worked out before, just work with a professional to feel super safe. And if you have been active before, like the mental toll that it can take to stop, it's way worse than a ankle sprain, let's say. So definitely keep doing as much as you can because yeah, you become a better pregnant person if you stay active for sure.
Which is kind of contradicted though sometimes with these old myths and rules like you shouldn't lift anything heavier than 5 kilos, you should only do yoga. How many of these have you faced, and did any of them come from like friends and family? Like how would you deal with that or advise anyone to deal with something like a backlash even that can come? Because I think
Yeah.
especially during a very vulnerable period like this, it can be really difficult.
Yeah, vulnerable period where everybody has an opinion to give you, which is like, I didn't ask for it. But I remember my mom seeing me like lifting weights, and she was like, "Oh, you should stop. Like, you're going to harm the baby." And luckily, I worked with two midwives here in Berlin who are younger and they are like much more into like new research. And I was just making sure that everything was going fine still, like even though I knew that especially like lifting weights and muscle building during pregnancy is actually like one of the best things you can do for yourself and for the baby. I still like wanted to make sure that like everything was going in the right direction, that I was eating enough, especially. I think that's the main issue too, that like a lot of women enter into like calorie deficit even in pregnancy. And that's actually quite dangerous, right? Like, because your body like is like burning a lot of calories
Yeah.
with pregnancy, and you add the workouts. But yeah, like the lifting heavy, like don't raise your heart rate beyond like 140 beats per minute and stuff. Like there are so many myths around like what pregnant women can and cannot do. And then we are expected to still like bring the groceries back home, and then after 2, 3 weeks of like postpartum, like lift our like 4 or 5 kilos baby and like carry that baby for like hours. Like, how can you do that if you haven't trained for a year? Like, it makes no sense, right? And there are things such as mom back, which is very common, and it comes from a lack of like core stability and core training for a very long time. And yeah, I find it very like contradictory that like there's an expectation of us like jumping into motherhood being strong, but we are not supposed to train. Like, make that make sense.
It makes no sense. And I think that especially for like the early postpartum as well, your training status that you manage to maintain throughout the pregnancy is probably very, very important. I don't like, sometimes I see that people claim that, oh, this will make your birth so much easier. I'm not quite sure that is correct, because I mean, it's completely unpredictable, I believe. And you have professional athletes who are telling horrible birth stories, and then you have an average person who had like the perfect, comfy as it can be birth. But I think to combine it like that is probably not.
No, 100%. And I mean, birth, it's still like a very wild experience. But there's a part that like it can be true because your body is so used to stress management and endurance training. For instance, in my case, I had contractions for a day and a half, like, and that takes a lot of energy. Like you're borderline not able to eat, not able to sleep for like almost 2 days. And I want to believe that part of like me being able to carry myself throughout like such a long experience was because I had some endurance background. The birth itself, I don't know. Like the moment of giving birth, I that's a whole other story, and people will tell you like go in this position to change the position of the baby, like do this, do whatever feels good, do whatever gives you confidence for that moment. I think that's one of the key points that maybe like, but for sure, more confident that I know my body because I've trained it quite a lot. So when I was entering all of these like 2, 3 days of giving birth experience, I was like, okay, I know my body's strong. Like we haven't done this before, but there's some strength in there that I can pull from, which I mean, again, the birth, I don't know how we can train anyone for that moment, but definitely having strength and knowing that the recovery can be way quicker than we think. That also helps because, like, at least for in my case, I was very scared of like pushing, for instance, and tearing, and how long the recovery was going to be if like a C-section was happening or other things, other complications were coming. But knowing that the recovery can be quite easy if you have trained before, also your mind, as in like anything can happen right now. And I know that worst case, maybe it's 2 months that I'm completely gone, which is not that bad, right? I mean, they are like very severe cases, but all in all, I've seen like guys going back to sports after a few weeks, and muscle memory is a big thing, and it does work for postpartum too. Like the muscle does remember, and it goes back quicker if you have trained for it. So I think just keeping that in mind that like you have trained helps with the birth mentally. Like even if it's not physically, at least there's a mental component there that can help you.
Some sort of resilience, I guess, either
Yeah,
physical or even just mentally. And
exactly. Yeah.
um, and then going into these like first days and weeks postpartum, what would you say was like the most challenging, or was there anything that surprised yourself that you didn't consider or you had a completely different idea of? Because I guess we're all thinking about it and we get a certain idea of it in our minds, but then the lived experience can be so different.
For sure. I mean, I mentioned before like how active I am. So for me, just resting was super hard. Like I knew it was very necessary to be on bed for 1 week almost, like move very little for the first like 4 weeks. And I took it very, but my like that was very hard, like not to move, not to like work out, like that was like something that like for me was very hard. Unexpected for me was like how long, how many hours breastfeeding takes. I didn't expect to be 5 hours like breastfeeding a kid per day. Like I was shocked. I was like, how can moms just like spend so much time just like laying down, like feeding a kid and all the energy that goes with it, right? Like the breastfeeding part was like quite so for the first part, like the non being active for like a few weeks. It helped me a lot just to know that I was taking small steps towards being active at some point. So of course I couldn't run or I couldn't go for long walks, but I started like doing connecting breath like very early on. I started doing pelvic floor exercises very early on. I just made myself a little plan because for me, I'm also a product manager, so for me plans like come like very natural. I need a plan for everything. And for me, having a plan meant that I could go back to 6 week plan to go back to sports that I shared also with my midwives to make sure that it was related to how my birth went and how my recovery was going. They just added a little bit more of rest into the plan that I was like, okay, I guess I'll rest a few more hours. But every week I had a goal. So the first week was just mainly connecting the breath and being able to breathe into the core and the pelvic floor. The second week was more about activation. The third week we started moving a little bit more and being dynamic with that activation and that breathing. So there were like a few steps that like, made me go back into sports within 6 weeks, and I was always doing something for it, and that it was a big help to be like, okay, I'm struggling, I cannot move, but I know that we are slowly making progress and we will slowly get there. And it's hard to find 20 minutes when you're like exhausted, you haven't slept, you have breastfed for 5 hours that day. But literally 20 minutes, 30 minutes was all I needed to put my mindset into the recovery of sports. And that helps a lot also with postpartum depression. Like a
Mm.
lot of women end up with postpartum depression because they can't find themselves, they can't find anymore. And it is tough, like for sure. Like I feel like look at myself in the mirror and I look at pictures from like 2 years ago and I'm like, where is that girl? But only able to still do things helps a lot. I think there's like a steady component, but then also like the capability, confidence component. And that one goes back pretty quick if you stay active. They say that like the exercise can reduce postpartum by 40%, which is a
Wow.
huge number. So I think it is worth it to stay a little bit more active, even if it's super tough, just block 20 minutes while the baby sleeps. Especially in the first weeks, they sleep so much actually. They spend half of the day, like more than half of the day sleeping. So you just put the baby there to sleep, take a nap, and then you can do your little workout.
But it's almost a little bit sad that you have to invest time and like plan it all yourself, because usually you're just told to rest for 6 weeks and then you have to check up and then it's all cleared. Like it goes from basically from nothing to 100%. And I feel like it's crazy nowadays because for every little injury and even minor surgeries, you get like some sort of recovery plan, sometimes even hours with a physiotherapist. And I mean, it depends a little bit on the country you live in, but sometimes you give birth and it's like, here's your baby, please rest and see you in 6 weeks. Bye bye, good luck.
I find it crazy. That 6 week checkup, it's so minor. Like coming from a fitness background, it's I mean, I'm not a pelvic floor specialist. Like I saw someone, Almu, like who's like a pelvic floor specialist joining. There are people that like really know the pelvic floor, so like they know way better. But coming from a fitness background, I was surprised how minimal that checkup was. So I was thinking like, okay, I have a fitness background. I've been doing like 6 weeks of work, and I'm not surprised that they are giving me the green light. But for someone who gets the green light, hasn't done anything for 6 weeks, and thinks that everything is okay, they start running, they start jumping, it's a disaster. Like it's really calling for big injuries, and it's calling for like a way bigger recovery. It's actually very sad that there's no integration of like the fitness world into pregnancy and postpartum, right? Like it's one of the biggest injuries that you can have. Your body has gone through so much, and it takes a very long time to fully recover, right? Like we tend to think that postpartum is like 6 weeks. It can take up to like 1, 2 years for like the organs to go fully back. There are like things that you constantly need to watch out for. It's exhausting, but it's necessary. Like you need to know that your body has done something amazing, and there's a little cost to all of that. And especially during those first 6 weeks, like I will encourage women not to like work out, of course, but to start like thinking what can they do, even laying down in bed, like the connecting breath like can be done laying down in bed, like activation can also be done laying down in bed. Like there's so many things that you could do, and I searched quite a lot and there was nothing. And when I asked like the midwives even about the recovery courses for pregnancy, they told me not to go even because they were like those courses are not very fitness oriented, right? They are like more for general population, which is completely fair. But if you're an athlete and you work out at an intensity that is slightly higher, you need a different approach, and you don't find it in the public sector, which it's very sad. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I saw it was only last week. I think Canada published some new guidelines, or it was the first draft for some new postpartum like return to fitness guidelines that were really starting, I think, in week 1 or 2 with, as you're saying, breathing and then building up, but going step by step and always considering the type of birth, the fitness level before, and so on. I didn't look at them in detail, but I saw that they got published and I was like, yay, it's finally one step
Yeah,
in the right direction.
for sure, because you're already feeling like so lonely and so lost, like, and not having like the right support from like professionals. And I also find that like even on the medical sector, if you're a midwife or gynecologist, a fitness background, they will just tell you to rest, like the safest, most simple solution. When in reality, that's actually worse. Like we know the like potential injuries that you can have in the future, right? Like a dysfunction on the pelvic floor with leakage, like organ prolapse, like it's super severe. And you see these things coming up like 30, 40 years after giving birth. And you have to look back to the moment that you gave birth to be like, I didn't do anything for this long. And now, yeah, I'm peeing in my pants and it's not normal and it shouldn't be normalized, right? We the woman can have leakage, and that's definitely not normal, and it should be looked at, and there are things that we can do to solve it.
Yeah, but I guess it's a big awareness component because for so long, like I remember even my mom telling me a lot of times, "Oh yeah, I had you. That's normal now." It's just the generally accepting this as a new reality.
Yeah, yeah. It's very sad. It's very sad, but here to change the narrative and to help
Yeah.
as much as possible.
But also I think with the nuance that this like quote unquote bouncing back is also not what it's sold as. Because you see
For
a
sure.
lot of programs and a lot of trainers with a nice before and after picture claiming that, oh, this if you just train exactly like this and you eat exactly like this, then this could be you. Which, to be honest, like even pregnancy postpartum aside, it's never the case because you can eat and train and sleep exactly like another person and you will still not look like them because your genetics are different, your job is different, your circumstances. But I feel like in this particularly vulnerable period, that's also not a great message to send.
For sure. And I mean, for someone who's in this industry, it is very tempting to post those things because it's most sensitive. And again, like tapping into this like emotional part that like people do want to see those things to kind of generate trust and be like, okay, if I want to bounce back, I just need to follow these. Like we all want like the right, like easy solutions, and no one's solved, especially during pregnancy, because so many things can be different, right? As you said, like fitness level, like the birth experience, like the recovery. And while some things can help, some people have like wider separation of the abs, and it's genetic and it has nothing to do with what you have done. So I know why they do it, of course. Like it's very easy to sell stuff when you have this before and afters that are like very catchy. But what they don't talk about is we were just saying about like postpartum depression and being capable and like preventing injuries. I think talking more about like the non-visible effects of training and recovering can be way more impactful, because following someone who has like a great pre-postpartum bouncing back experience maybe frustrates you even more because you're not going to get there. You're already through a postpartum experience, which is extremely tough. And on top of that, you're putting yourself pressure to look like that person, and you're not going to look like that person. So it's up to failure in that selling journey that a lot of these fitness influencers are trying to do. But focusing on the benefits of like not having shoulder pain, lower back pain, not having pelvic floor dysfunction, avoiding postpartum depression. I think all of those things are much more tangible and achievable, and you can actually guarantee that those things are going to happen if you work out 100%, but they will definitely help. We all look different. We have different genetics, like, and we build these expectations, and we our bodies have changed, like they have given birth. And I always use this sentence of like bouncing forward instead of bouncing back, because your identity is changing too, and maybe you just want to embrace the new body that you are getting, right? Like and I think staying active and feeling strong and feeling capable can carry any of these difficulties of like looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, who's this person? But then you go to the gym and you squat heavy again and you're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I can lift very heavy. I can carry my baby the entire day. I don't have pain. That's all that
Yeah.
matters, right? So, yeah.
I love bouncing forward. I will keep that in mind for sure. Were there any other little milestones that you had set for yourself, like just personally in this
On
postpartum?
the postpartum period, to be fair, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have pain and I could breastfeed, like that I was like really listening to my body. And one of the milestones was to be with the weight, which like it sounds kind of like generally the milestone is like to lose weight as quick as possible. But for me, the milestone was like first to take it as low as possible and then to not look at the weight that often. It's extremely tempting. There's like a weighing machine at the gym, and every now and then I've checked it just to like see a little bit of like where am I, but not trying to lose sight of what's important right now, because a lot of these influencers will share a before and after, but they won't share the consequences of going back or building these bodies so quickly after giving birth. And there is a danger of stress fractures. There's a danger of like enough breast milk, knowing the danger of bouncing back or cutting your diet or training too hard too soon should be enough of a reason for people to be like, okay, it's not the time a marathon. It's not the time to hit any PBs. It's the time to listen to the body and stay active, but in a responsible way. It's super hard to self-control, and every time I go to the gym, tempted to add a little bit more of weight to the bottle. But you need to listen to the body of like, okay, is my core strong enough? Are my joints a little bit more stable? Because relaxing can last quite long after pregnancy, and we need to be careful not to get injured because that will set me back from sports again. So yeah, those were my main milestones actually, which are very kind of opposite to what they usually are. Like recover as quick as
Yeah.
possible, release the weight as quick as possible. But I wanted because yeah, it's straight up dangerous. So I didn't want to put myself or the new life of a breastfeeding mom in danger. So.
Yeah. Speaking of breastfeeding, did you change anything in your nutrition? Was there anything you included before that you're now excluding, like in pregnancy as well as in postpartum? Did you make any adaptations to your regular nutrition, supplementation, all of that?
To be fair, no. Um, I took a look with nutrition, and I've been like a protein obsessed person for the past year already. Uh, like all of my friends, when they are eating enough protein or when I shake, they send me pictures. They're like, I'm eating enough protein. Like, here you have proof. So I've been like very heavy, not only with myself, but with everybody around me, as in like eating enough protein because it's the basis for not only muscle, but like, yeah, the cognitive function, recovery, everything. Like, I mean, of course, you know. Um, but uh, but yeah, like I took a look and things were looking already pretty good. Because again, as I said, during like the pre-pregnancy and pregnancy period, if you have the habits already in place from before, there's not much more that you have to change, to be fair. You just need to watch out to eat enough. I think that's the main thing. In my case, the training intensity lowered and I kept the same amount of nutrition, so enough balance the new energy consumption that I needed. And it's the same for postpartum. I didn't reduce the amount of food I was eating despite laying down on the bed for 2 weeks, which is super hard mentally for a woman to eat a lot and not move. Like we tend to exercise to burn calories.
But
So
you're
that one,
healing, so
exactly. So, but yeah, just to like repeat it to yourself, right? Like I'm resting and I'm feeding because I need to recover, and that like mantra like over and over again in your head. Um, Recently, which I never took before, and a lot of my clients always ask me about it, is creatine. Um, like there's not like a ton of research on breastfeeding and creatine intake, but there's already creatine in breast milk, and the few studies that have gone out, it shows pretty positive results. And for me, there's always also this balance of like the positive impact that it has on me has a very positive impact on my baby too. And the lack of sleep and the lack of energy like prevents me from working out, from staying active, from having mental clarity. And that damages a lot the relationship also as a mother that I can have with my baby. So very helpful to like active, avoiding postpartum depression, like being more present with him, being able to engage with him way more despite sleeping very little hours. I wouldn't prescribe it to anyone because you need to check with your doctor as well. I did check with my midwife before starting to take creatine, and she said the same thing. Like, I wouldn't tell you to do it, but if you, yeah, feel confident and you want to do your research and feel good with it, just go for it. Um, yeah, and again, I think there's always like such little research when it comes to like pregnancy, postpartum, that like you also just need to listen to your own body and see, yeah, if you take creatine, yeah, you have leakage. I don't know, just because the increase of liquids, whatever, I don't know, like something can happen. You need to listen to your body, but in my case, it has been very positive for me, and therefore I can be a better mom for my baby, hopefully, just because I'm more awake during the day.
probably. Yeah. And like the training and nutrition aspects aside, how are you handling it now with your coaching and your business and the job? How's that all going? Because I feel like as women, we are supposed to quote unquote do it all and do it with a smile at all times. But is it actually realistic?
It's super tough, to be fair. And I mean, not only from a time perspective, but also energy, right? Like, um, I have like, there's like two sides here. Like for me, like one is like, of course, I want to be with the baby all the time, and it's hard for a mom to leave a baby, like especially in the first weeks. But at the same time, if you leave the baby for a few hours, you're going to have so much more energy. Like, for instance, working out, right? Like, I know a lot of moms will feel guilty leaving their babies at home for a workout. But at the same time, that workout will create endorphins, will create this like dopamine that like will help you have a better mood. Because otherwise you can go crazy with a baby crying the whole day. Like you literally go bananas. So it's good to take some break, and if it was for you, it has been quite tough because I need coaching, I have the baby, and I have my recovery. So instead of balancing, I've been just prioritizing like super hard. I have my group of friends that I want to see regularly, and I'm sorry, I don't have more time. That's it. Like just really prioritizing quite a lot, and it has been very helpful to have my husband who works from home taking like 2, 3, 4 hours whenever I needed like this break or just to focus on my coaching. I also just launched the online course, which was I was doing while being pregnant. Never would have thought that I would like release anything while still because I'm still like recovering. But especially at night when you put them to bed, you have this like 2, 3 hours for yourself where you can sit down and do something for the brain as well. I think it's also very helpful for moms to have something that they are passionate and that they can still do and set a little bit of the boundaries to have like a little bit of time to still do what they love. Because in this time, like you're trying to figure it yourself out again and just doing something that you know that worked before definitely helps. And for me, coaching is my passion by far, and being able to still be there for my clients and especially like those ones who are going through pregnancy and postpartum. Like, I mean, of course, it touches very close
Yeah.
to home right now. That I'm that I'm managing to find the time and the energy. But again, I have my husband working from home supporting. So yeah.
Yeah. I love the saying that you can't pour from an empty cup, and I think that's
Yeah,
exactly what you're saying. You need
exactly. Yeah,
to somehow find or carve out the time to take care of yourself and your things as well.
exactly.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
quite often overlooked, I feel.
Especially with moms, like I think when you're pregnant, you're this like in that needs to be taken care of because she's carrying a life and this life needs to be as healthy as possible. And once that life is delivered, it doesn't matter anymore. Like it feels like it. Then it's just like, okay, you deal with your own postpartum yourself, like you deal with the new motherhood, with the new body, with the new schedule, with the no sleeping, like just go with all of those changes alone. And I think postpartum moms sometimes need even more care than the pregnancy ones because at that time during pregnancy, the hormones are helping a lot the mood. But during postpartum, all of that like hormonal like cocktail that keeps you happy and glowing, crashes your skin, your hair, like everything is going through a very hard word, and you're supposed to just be a mom and carry the baby everywhere, and don't you dare leave the baby because yeah, you're then not such a good mom. Like yeah, it's hard and there's a lot of judgment. So I think just setting a few examples like out there, like we are seeing more and more athletes going back into sports after giving birth. And I think that's helping a lot of moms to also take the steps to be like, I know I need it, and I know that it's because I'm going to be a better mom by doing it. I think that's a way to trick our minds to feel good about leaving them. And it works. Like you go back and you have energy, you have missed the baby a little bit more. You're like, oh my God, I'm so excited to see you. And you see them like they
Yeah.
turn with such a big smile because you're back. You know, it's actually nice. So yeah.
Before we wrap this up, is there like one thing that you wish every woman knew before going into this, before going into a pregnancy?
Uh, I think just not being scared and being very confident in knowing their bodies. It's very important. Like, get to know your body before you start this journey because it's going to go through a lot of, yeah, strength training, whatever you like to do. But for me, especially strength training really helps getting to know your body and the limits and how much you can push it. And that helps like going through pregnancy with much more confidence and also postpartum, and know that there are days that you're going to be exhausted and then you need to drop everything. And what we see online of like all of these women working out, doing crazy workouts, it doesn't have to be you. Like remove all of that pressure, do whatever feels good. And yeah, especially like knowing that there's support as well. There are a lot of moms that have been going through the same, and for me, entering the Mothers Club has been one of the biggest promotions in my life because I've seen how this community is super supportive. I think going through birth and through postpartum like really brings women together. And I think I would like everybody to know that like any mom is always there for each other. And I found a lot of support in moms before giving birth and also afterwards. Like you're never left alone if you have a few moms around you, because we all know how hard it is, and we have a lot of respect for everybody who comes to this and have the best experience ever, and to help them navigate everything. So yeah, know that they will have support for sure.
And if they need support for training, they can ask someone like you.
For sure, I'm always happy, especially with pregnancy postpartum, to like help women, making it a little bit easier for sure. So yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm still working on the pregnancy and postpartum plan. I'll release it in the next months. I cannot promise now. Like today is becoming awake and he wants to walk and yeah, and see and stay awake. So it's a bit harder to find time. Launch the program soon, so I can help more women when I don't have that much time, because it's true. It's shrinking slowly
Yeah.
with less and less time. Yeah.
Where is it people can find you?
I mean, generally, I'm in Berlin. I coach at Sorry Not Sorry and at BTD1, but you can always come to my Instagram page. And Instagram is always quite available for everybody to just like slide in my DMs and send a message, and I'm always happy to have a chat. I also have like 30 minutes free chats that everybody can book, and I'm always happy to just do a first assessment, just chat through things, and there's never a compromise. I just really like talking about this topic and general fitness. I can talk about it for hours. So yeah. Oh,
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time
yeah, of
today.
course.
And I hope this was informative for one or the other woman or man who wants to be supportive during this time, because that's needed as well, I think. And yeah, if you are in the live and you haven't caught the first bit of the chat, it will all be online on YouTube and Spotify within the next few days. And I'm going to share the link. And I'm also going to share the link with you. So we can follow up on this. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thank you to
Thank
everyone
you.
listening. Have
Thanks
a
for
great rest
having
of the
me.
day.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.